I looked at him carefully. "I'm not destroying you," I said. "I'm just refusing to let you erase me." He didn't step inside. He didn't argue. He just nodded slowly and left. As I closed the door, I realized something powerful. For 12 years, I built my identity around being his partner. Now, I was building it around being myself. And just when I thought the storm was settling, the court date for final asset division was confirmed. A date that would decide not just money, but control over the Arizona property. The final court date arrived faster than I expected. By then, I wasn't the same woman who had stood frozen in the kitchen watching her husband walk out. I had clients, contracts, and a growing business. I had purpose. But this hearing still mattered. The Arizona condo had become the center of everything. It wasn't just property. It was proof. Proof that he had planned a future without me while still sharing a life with me. In court, the atmosphere felt heavier than before. The judge reviewed the complete financial report. Every hidden bonus. Every transfer. Every document tied to the condo. Trenton didn't look at me this time. His lawyer argued that the property was purchased as a career investment and not meant to harm me. But the numbers didn't lie. The down payment had come directly from our joint savings. My inheritance had helped fund the account he used. When the forged signature was mentioned again, the judge's tone sharpened. She made it clear that deception during marriage carries legal consequences. After hours of discussion, the decision came. The Arizona condo was declared marital property. Because of the concealment and falsified paperwork, I was awarded the majority ownership share. Trenton would have to either buy out my portion at full market value or agree to sell the property and split the proceeds according to the court's ruling, heavily in my favor. In addition, he was ordered to reimburse the hidden bonuses and cover a significant portion of legal fees. It wasn't dramatic. There was no shouting, just numbers. Numbers that told the truth. Outside the courthouse, reporters weren't waiting. There was no public scene, just the quiet realization that his plan had failed. That same week, his company finalized their internal review. He wasn't fired, but he was removed from his executive role and reassigned to a lower position pending trust rebuilding. The title he chased so fiercely was gone. A month later, the Arizona condo was sold. The market had risen sharply. My share of the sale, combined with the settlement, gave me financial freedom I had never imagined. I didn't spend it wildly. I invested it back into Sable and Finch Studio. I rented a small office space downtown. I hired one assistant, then two. Work filled my days. Not as a distraction, but as growth. 2 years passed. One evening, I attended a local charity gala for small businesses. My studio had been nominated for a regional design award. As I stood near the entrance, someone said my name softly. I turned. Trenton. He looked thinner. Older somehow. Not broken, but smaller than I remembered. "You look different," he said. "I am," I replied. He hesitated. "I didn't think you'd thrive like this." I smiled gently. "You didn't think I'd look at the numbers." He gave a weak laugh. No anger. Just truth. As he walked away, I didn't feel victory. I felt peace. He walked away after 12 years thinking he was stepping into something better. But the truth? He walked away from the best thing he ever had. And I walked forward into the life I should have claimed all along. The end. I looked at him calmly. "I didn't. You did." He didn't reply. That night, I sat alone in my townhouse, thinking about the early years of our marriage. The nights we stayed up dreaming about the future. The plans we made. I realized something important. I had been loyal to the idea of us, even when he had already moved on from it. But now something had changed inside me. I wasn't fighting to keep him. I was fighting to protect myself. Over the next few weeks, more financial details came out. The hidden investment accounts were confirmed. The Arizona condo was officially considered marital property. And because of the forged document, the judge warned there could be serious consequences. Trenton tried calling again. This time not to negotiate, but to talk. He said things had gotten out of control. He said he never meant for it to go this far. I let the call go to voicemail. The truth was, this didn't feel out of control to me. It felt balanced. And just when I thought the situation couldn't shift anymore, my lawyer called with new information about Trenton's job. Information that could change everything. Callum asked me to come into his office the next morning. His voice on the phone was calm, but I could tell something had changed. When I sat down across from him, he placed a thin folder on the desk. "Trenton's company has started an internal review," he said. They were notified about the fraud investigation connected to the divorce proceedings. I blinked. They know. Yes. When financial misconduct appears in court records, especially involving executive employees, companies pay attention. Trenton had worked for years to climb that ladder. His title, his image, his reputation, those things mattered to him more than anything. And now, everything he tried to hide was slowly rising to the surface. I didn't feel joy. I felt something steadier than that. Consequences. A week later, Trenton called again. This time his voice wasn't smooth or confident. It sounded tight. "They're asking questions at work," he said. "This is affecting my position." I stayed quiet. "You're making this worse than it has to be," he added. "No," I said calmly. "You did that when you decided to lie." There was a long pause. For the first time, he didn't argue. Meanwhile, I focused on my own life. I reopened the business idea I had once pushed aside, interior design. I had always loved transforming spaces, making them warm and beautiful. During our marriage, I told myself I would start it later. Later never came. Now it had to. I registered the name Sable and Finch Studio. I started small, working from home, reaching out to local contractors and real estate agents. My first project was a modest townhouse remodel. It wasn't glamorous, but when the client smiled at the finished space, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Pride. The divorce case continued building momentum. The court ordered Trenton to disclose every account, every investment. More hidden funds appeared. Not millions, but enough to prove intention. Then something unexpected happened. His company placed him on temporary leave pending their review. Callum explained that executives are held to high ethical standards. Fraud allegations, even outside the workplace, can damage company credibility. The man who once told me he needed more was now trying to protect what he had left. One evening, he showed up at my door unannounced. He looked different. Not polished. Not confident. Just tired. "I made mistakes," he said. "But we can fix this. We don't have to destroy each other." And the Arizona property? It wasn't just a small rental. It was a high-value condo in a fast-growing area. The down payment matched the exact amount missing from our savings. I didn't cry when I saw the numbers. I felt something colder than sadness. I felt clarity. Trenton had been planning his exit for at least 18 months. While I was making dinner and asking about his day, he was moving money and building a new life without me. He didn't leave because he felt stuck. He left because he had already secured his next step. One evening, he called again. He asked if I had thought about his offer. He said dragging lawyers into this would only make things messy and expensive. He said we should be mature about it. I told him I agreed. I told him I just needed a little more time to review everything. He sounded relieved. What he didn't know was that the accountant had found something even more serious. One of the documents for the Arizona property had my name on an old draft. The final version didn't. My signature had been copied from another form and pasted digitally onto a loan disclosure I had never seen. It wasn't just hidden money. It was fraud. Callum looked at me carefully when he explained what that meant. He said if we presented this in court, the divorce would no longer be simple. It could damage Trenton's career. For a moment, I felt tempted to confront him, to shout, to demand answers. But then I remembered the way he stood in our kitchen and said he needed more. So calm. So sure that I would simply accept it. I decided I would stay calm too. The court date was set. Trenton still believed we were negotiating quietly. He had no idea what was waiting for him. And for the first time since he walked out, I wasn't scared. I was ready. The morning of the first court hearing, I woke up before sunrise. I didn't feel nervous. I felt focused. I chose a simple navy dress and tied my hair back neatly. I wanted to look like myself, calm, steady, not dramatic. When I walked into the courtroom, Trenton was already there. He gave me a small smile, the kind strangers give each other in elevators. It was strange seeing him like that. 12 years together, and now we looked like two people waiting for different flights. His lawyer spoke first. He repeated the idea of a simple settlement. Equal division. No unnecessary conflict. Trenton nodded as if everything was reasonable. Then Callum stood up. He began with the financial timeline. He showed the pattern of transfers from our joint account. He explained how bonuses had been redirected. The judge listened carefully, flipping through documents. Trenton's smile slowly faded. When the Arizona property was mentioned, Trenton shifted in his seat. His lawyer whispered something to him. I kept my eyes forward. Then came the forged document. Callum explained how my signature had been copied from another legal form and placed onto a property-related file. He didn't accuse loudly. He just presented facts. Dates. Digital timestamps. Expert analysis. The room felt smaller. Trenton finally looked at me directly. Not with anger. Not with love. But with something close to shock. He hadn't expected this. He thought I would agree quietly. He thought I wouldn't look deeper. The judge's voice was firm. She asked Trenton to explain the discrepancy. He stumbled through an answer about clerical mistakes and miscommunication. It didn't sound convincing. The hearing ended without a final decision, but the judge ordered a full asset disclosure and further investigation. The simple divorce Trenton wanted was gone. Outside the courthouse, he approached me for the first time since he left. "You didn't have to do this," he said quietly. After 12 years of marriage, he looked at me and said he was done. No fight. No warning. Just a quiet voice and a packed suitcase. I stood there in our kitchen, the same kitchen we painted together when we first bought the house, and I felt like the floor had disappeared under my feet. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name is Marielle Vaughn. I gave 12 years of my life to Trenton Hale. We were not rich when we started. We lived in a tiny apartment with thin walls and old carpets. I worked 2 jobs while he finished his MBA at night. I believed in him. I believed in us. When he finally got his corporate sales job, I felt proud. I thought we had made it together. But that Tuesday night, he said he felt stuck. He said he needed more from life. More excitement. More freedom. More something he couldn't even explain. I asked him if there was someone else. He said no. He just kept saying he wasn't happy. The strange thing was, I didn't cry in front of him. I didn't beg. I didn't scream. I just watched him close the door behind him. And the silence that followed was louder than anything he said. For the first few days, I walked around the house like a guest. I kept expecting him to come back and say it was a mistake. But he didn't. Instead, he sent a short message through his lawyer saying he wanted a simple divorce. Quick. Clean. No drama. That's when something inside me shifted. I started going through our files. Not because I wanted revenge. I just needed to understand how everything fell apart so suddenly. As I checked bank statements, I noticed small transfers I didn't recognize. Then bigger ones. Over the past year and a half, thousands of dollars had quietly moved into accounts I had never seen. My heart didn't break that night. It hardened. This wasn't sudden. This wasn't emotional confusion. This was planning. I found paperwork for an investment property in Arizona. My name wasn't on it, but the down payment had come from our joint savings. The savings I helped build. The savings that included money from my late grandmother's inheritance. He didn't just walk away from our marriage. He walked away with a plan. And that's when I made mine. I didn't call him. I didn't accuse him. I didn't let him know I had found anything. Instead, I opened a new folder on my laptop and named it Reconstruction. If he thought I would fall apart quietly, he didn't know me at all. The next few weeks were strange. Trenton acted polite, almost distant, like I was a co-worker he barely knew. He called once and said we should handle this like adults. He suggested we skip long legal fights and just split things evenly. He even offered to let me keep the house if I agreed not to question anything else. His calm tone made my stomach turn. I agreed on the phone. I told him that sounded fair. I kept my voice soft and steady. I let him believe I was tired and ready to settle. But the next morning, I met with a lawyer named Callum Price. Callum wasn't dramatic. He listened quietly while I explained everything. The transfers. The hidden property. The sudden decision to leave. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and said, "This wasn't random. He prepared for this." Hearing someone else say it out loud made it real. Callum brought in a forensic accountant. Within 2 weeks, we discovered more than I expected. There were bonus payments from Trenton's company that never showed up in our joint account. There was a separate investment fund opened almost a year ago.